So much to discuss on this Halloween Eve. Halloween Eve. Oh, Halloween. I don't know where you are, where you live, but the reaction to Halloween here in this particular area is incredible. The level of how do I say this? The level of the complexity of the various signs and the front lawns with the cemetery, like, so ornate this year. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what is it that I'm noticing. What is it? Do you find it being more, for lack of a better word, more, dare I say, ghoulish than usual? Do you notice anything? Does that make any sense to you? Do you notice that at all? I'm noticing it tremendously. And I'm always thinking, why? What does this mean? What's going on? What is this? What am I noticing? What was the last light to turn off? What do I notice now that was here last year but isn't here now? What do I see here that I didn't see before? I told you this story, which I find so interesting. Years ago, there was a study to try to determine what is the difference between the, quote, older brain and the younger brain. Whatever that means. I don't even know how they defined older versus younger. How young, was this adolescent? Was this, 20? I don't know. And what they did was they took a number of people and they had them do these various mental exercises. And for purposes of the younger people, they could do the very, very quick, kind of a very mentally gymnastic types of things very, very easily. It was without any concern whatsoever. And they did better than the, quote, older people. And then they did another type of a particular exercise. And this is to determine who was better adept, better equipped, who could handle the ability to determine when something was missing or different from this particular picture or that, this particular group or that. And the older, again, whatever that group was, did significantly better. And the reason for this was because older people, it was posited, were able to tell the difference between the situation in one case and another. And that was translated into this thing called judgment. I'll never forget this. Because when you get older, I hate all this wisdom that is thrown and heaped upon us. I don't know if we're more wise. I don't know. I don't think so. Just because you've seen something doesn't mean you're wiser. I don't know, just wisdom. Because people love to do that. Remember also, people love everybody in their age group, but nobody else, forgetting that they were that age group and that they hope to be in the next age group. You always forget. It's like an ageist thing. Well, you kids today, you old people, you act like they're alien. This is on the assembly line. You're talking about somebody who's either further along or at the beginning of their production line. Just a thought. I want to also tell you that on January the 14th, 2023. Isn't that weird? I know we do this all the time. I can't even believe that November is coming. It's also very weird too because I still get it's like it gets darker, earlier. I still do this. I still don't like this. I still don't like the idea of this daylight saving, and I don't care for that. Anyway, but there are these things that I notice. These things. And I'm noticing a lot of different stuff is going on. And one of the things we're going to say, in January the 14th, I did something last time at the cutting room. The cutting room, by the way, is one of the oldest and most storied venues in New York. It's in a very, well, I don't want to say posh, but wouldn't you say between Madison and Park Avenue? La-di-da. So it's a, whatever. And the cutting room used to be, they used to cut, what, carpet or something? Or cut carpet, or they cut it. And there was one that was more, was it one more Chelsea-ish, or was it around that area? Anyway, there was an original one, and then there's this one. 24th, yeah, Chelsea. So, one night, in one appearance, you're not going to believe this. This is true. I opened for Dave Chappelle. Well, let me qualify that. My show was first, and then after mine came Dave Chappelle working on some new material. I didn't meet him. I preferred not to. I said, by the way, if Chappelle asks for me, I don't want to meet him. I told the owner, Steve, at the time, and he looked at me. He's okay. No, seriously. If Chappelle wants to meet me, I do not want to meet him. I don't want to come down from this high, because at the end of the show, I always meet everybody. Everybody who wants to. I'm not going to go and bother if you don't want to. But anyway, so the last time, we did something that was almost serendipitous. And what we did was we said we passed out little index cards and little pencils. Little pencils, like when you remember bowling or golf, little tiny pencil things. People wrote their own questions. You know what I noticed first? You're not going to believe this. You know what I noticed first? The handwriting was incredible. I couldn't believe the handwriting. That's what I, not the substance. It was clear, it was lucid, and I could tell still who was older. I could tell who was older by virtue of the clarity of it. I could tell. I could also tell who was a woman. Not always, but a lot of times there was remember the old days where you could tell. And what we did was we had people submit. It was just a fluke. I thought, well, I'll give it a shot. It was the greatest time ever. Because it wrote itself. Because, and I'd love to meet you. I still want to meet someplace in this, before travel restrictions were such. I always wanted to meet in a place, kind of like a UFO convention or something, or a political convention, or a antiques, whatever, when people meet about various subjects. But I've always loved to do that, to sit there and say, oh, you're so-and-so. Because after a period of time, you get to know people. You start to talk, and you know, especially during these wonderful morning, these sessions. But it was the greatest thing ever. And I was just going through the cards. People were asking questions. Brilliant. But brilliant. At a level that was unusual for most people. And we're going to do it again, because the whole notion of this is, it's you, it's interactive. This is immersive. Let me say something again before we talk about the Tom Brady thing, which is very, very important. In fact, let me stop right there, because I've got to do something which I've been most remiss about. I've always felt great kinship to sponsors, especially when sponsors have products that I believe in. And as you know, and as we've said, the world is getting more and more frightening and dangerous with every passing day. I'm sorry to say this, but it's true. And it's time to make sure that your family is prepared for what amounts to a severe and perilous time. And that's the truth. I'm sorry to say this. And that involves food shortages that are ahead. That's why My Patriot Supply is going the extra mile to make their emergency food as affordable as is possible. How do they do that? Well, first of all, they're taking $250 off their 3-month emergency food kits, which is the minimum. Let me say this again, the minimum your family should have. The kit provides delicious, toothsome, delectable viands and victuals and easy-to-make breakfasts and lunches, dinners, drinks, and snacks for one person for 3 solid months. So get one for each member of your family. Well, you're still able to save $250 during this timely sale, which ends soon. Now remember, My Patriot Supply is the nation's largest preparedness company, with millions of families already protected. These 3-month food kits are in stock and ready to go now, so you must act now. Your order ships free and fast and arrives in unmarked boxes for your privacy. So go to preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. Those who know what's coming are using today to prepare. Are you? That's preparewithlionel.com. So as I was saying, what is so interesting to me is the notion of today's media and the notion of this being immersive. Now think about this for 1 minute. Anything you watch on conventional television, anything, whether it's Netflix or cable news or whatever is normal, you're watching it. It is prepared and it works. It works without any consideration whatsoever to you. It assumes you're there, it presumes you're there, but doesn't care if you're there. This is immersive. This, what we are seeing right now, is immersive, contributory. It speaks. You are more involved in what is happening right now at levels no one can understand. First of all, people are listening to it later on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can watch it later or currently on YouTube. You can see this a year from now, whatever the particular period of time is. It's like nothing else. Everything else is there for you to take in, and that's it. And what we have been doing, what I don't understand, is to allow the idea to people to perform. So let me explain something to you. I used to love the idea of stand-up comedy. I thought stand-up comedy was, I thought it was great. I despise it. For me, I'm not interested in it. It's prepared. It's canned. If you get a chance, if you ever have a chance to see a couple of shows, any entertainer, if you get the chance to see any entertainer do a number of shows, I've been to these comedy festivals, and you will hear exactly a particular phrase or word in the same place every single time. And I understand sometimes you craft it. When I first started, I was on the comedy, I didn't like it, but played everywhere. My very first act, this was on WABC, my very first time I ever performed was at the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City, the big room. First time ever performing in front of anyone. Ever. Let me tell you this. First time. I never did stand up in front of anybody. And I call it stand up for lack of a better word. In front of anybody. The Claridge Hotel. Huge. I couldn't see. You should have seen the dressing room. They had a piano in it. I'm not kidding. I thought, oh my God. But I did it. Because there's one thing that I do. And one thing that I want to impart upon you. If I could teach you or you could teach your kids this one thing. Be fearless. There is nothing that you could possibly ever do in front of any group of people that could kill you or that could hurt you or harm you. It's easy. It's nothing. It doesn't matter. Don't even give it a second thought. Don't give it a moment's thought. Just do it. And I've always been like that. It's a little daunting, but I did it. Okay. But it was detached. You can't even hear sometimes. And then when you have a smaller club, you kind of see what's going on. And when I used to do it every weekend. I played at Caroline's, played everywhere. I played in New York, a lot in New Jersey. Oh, what was that great place in, used to be the old bowling alley, in Sayreville. Anyway, everybody played there. Regis Philbin played there. You know what I mean? That big place. It's that big, I'll think of it later. Did Caroline do this? Okay, fine. And sometimes I would go and I would have like a person open for me, and I would hear him do the same thing. And Club Benet. Can't remember that. So I would sometimes say, and I knew that if you said a particular line, and if you paused the joke here and paused it there, it worked perfectly. You would say something, and then I found this isn't very interesting, because I know exactly how it works. I've done this line. You can do a line. you can say words in a particular way that you phrase different. Okay, what happened last time at the cutting room was I had these cards, and each line was different. Each question was different. It was not improvisation. It was me talking to you. It's what we're doing right now, and I love it. So anyway, so that's what's coming up. And guess what? Nobody's going to be doing that. Remember, you heard this. It's the oldest thing in the world. Cards, ask questions. Yes. Chappelle's not going to do that. He can't, because you can't. I'm not comparing myself. He's got to be able to deliver every single time. But experimental, nobody does that. Nobody. And the thing about it is that you playing off the audience, like, where are you from? That's not what I'm talking about either. Okay, anyway. Let me stop right there. I know you don't, well, I shouldn't say that. You may or may not find the Tom Brady divorce interesting. And that is the subject of today's show. Why isn't this interesting? Why is divorce in our society so commonplace? Remember divorce court when you were a kid? Divorce court. It was like in the 60s. They had these, remember when we got stuck on Peyton Place? Please watch Peyton Place. Oh my God. Remember that? We were hooked on Peyton Place. I forgot. I was a kid. You're not going to believe what they did. It makes Dynasty look like Dynasty. Anyway. Do you know what's the sad part about divorce? It just seems so commonplace. Now, if I ask you a question, if I say, do you know what divorce is? What is divorce? Give me a one sentence story. By the way, someone brings up here, daylight saving. When is daylight savings? Next Sunday. Okay.
It's next Saturday night.
Next Saturday night. Okay. That's awful. It's going to be dark at like 3 o'clock. It's horrible. Here in the Northeast, horrible. Ugh. Get depressed. Anywho, what is divorce? What is it? What? You see it all the time. You see it all the time. What is divorce? It's a legal concept. What is marriage? I said this one time, and by the way, the notion of marriage, the notion of adoption, the notion of courting, and the notion of birthday parties, and the notion of engagements, and are wonderful. If with the right person, they're wonderful. But what is divorce? What is marriage? What does it mean? What does it mean? We went through something recently, not too long ago. 2 different marriages. 2 different weddings. And all they talked about was a wedding. Where's it going to be? Is it going to be at the country club? Or is it going to be at the... Are you going to have a band? Or are you going to have a DJ? What kind of food is it going to be? Well, what about the wedding? No, you're talking about the ceremony. What about the marriage? The marriage. The creation of this new entity. What? Does anybody ever talk about that? No. Does anybody ever discuss it? No. On my private channel, I did at lionelmedia.com a whole thing about that. And also, I'm still going through this very interesting Paul Pelosi attack, which is in the news everywhere. And I take it from an angle that, well, I don't think you're going to be seeing anywhere. So that's from a criminal law point of view. See, everything is legal. Remember one thing. Legal is what we, mankind, created. We created this. There doesn't exist marriage, the legal doctrine of marriage. It was man-made. I didn't. No, we did that. Astronomers discovered the heavens. Well, not discovered, but discovered maybe how they worked, but they were already there. Science tries to answer questions, the things which would exist, whether you're observing it or not. Heisenberg be damned. But law is created by man every single time we turn around. It's something that we created. We created it. Nobody else did. We did. And there was this whole notion of marriage. And what bothered people initially was the notion of devisability, to devise, to inherit, to pass on property. In the days of feudalism, the days of fealty, it's a different world. Many people have suggested that one of the reasons why there were prohibitions against marriage in the church was because of the notion of divisibility of property and the like. So right now, when you get a license, a driver's license, and you're 16 years old, I got my license on my 16th birthday. 1974. On my birthday. Boom. I was there on that day. I knew exactly what it meant. I took a test. I went to class. I learned about the laws, learned what it means. This is a license. This is not this is a privilege, a license. What is a license? Later on, as a lawyer, a license is that which allows you temporary access to something. You're a licensee or the licensor, or you're an invitee. We create everything. The law creates every conceivable relationship that you have. Oh, are you a restaurant owner? Yes. You are granting a license. Excuse me, sir. Yes. We have a dress code here. Yes. You're not complying with this. Your license to be here has been revoked. Leave. No, I'm not. Now you're trespassing. An invitee. Come on in. It's a different story. What duty of care do you own a trespasser? None. Except being unreasonable. What if somebody comes on your property? Somebody comes on your property, he trips over a sprinkler. Well, what was it? Well, he came to a party. It was a Halloween party. It was a birthday party. You invited them. You said, come on over. You owe them a certain reasonable degree of care. What? And they tripped and they fell. Okay, that's that. What about a trespasser? Different story. Have you ever heard about an attractive nuisance? This is one blows your mind. Blows my mind. Attractive nuisance is the negligence that is ascribed, that is attendant. Let's say you have a pool in your backyard. Some kid climbs over your fence, goes in and drowns in the pool. You could be held liable. It's an attractive nuisance. They used to call it the turntable doctrine because the classic case was that the turntable was this device that was used at railroad yards. And kids would always get their fingers caught in this. An attractive nuisance, by the way, is a potentially dangerous conditions that exist on the property. The landowner created or maintained the potential danger, and the landowner should have known the condition would attract children. And the landowner should have known the condition could harm. Oh. People say, what? But I've got a fence. Well, you knew this. I knew this? Yes. But that's not fair. What does fairness have to do with anything? Strict liability. That's another one. Wild animals, explosives, liability without fault. Doesn't matter what you did. You know, the Grucci family, anything that goes wrong. They should have forced. Anyway, when you go to law school, when you're involved in the study of law and the practice, you realize, my God, they've thought of every condition possible. Anything that people can do, they've thought of some. Really? Yes. Wow. Look at the criminal statutes. Everything hitting somebody, threatening to hit somebody, hitting somebody and hurting them, hitting somebody with a deadly weapon, hitting somebody with trespass, burglary, armed or assaultive burglary. This is the whole Pelosi thing. Hitting somebody, touching, battery, the impermissible touching of another against their will. Boom. That's a battery. That's a crime. Boom. You can't touch anybody. You can't touch them. Well, what if I take my handy dandy, by the way, these are great for cleaning off the schmutz off of your keyboard. What if I touch somebody with my paintbrush? That doesn't matter. Yeah, but my finger didn't touch him. So what? What if I grab something they're holding? Let's say like a cafeteria tray or a purse. I didn't touch them. What if I meant to hit this guy, but I missed and hit that guy? Transferred intent. Wait a minute. Everything has been figured out. What if I shot into a crowd? Did you kill anybody? Yeah, second-degree murder. But I didn't mean to shoot, so what? Reckless indifference? Reckless indifference for the safety of others? Second-degree murder. What? I didn't mean to kill anybody. Doesn't matter. Manslaughter or man's laughter. Well, let's talk about marriage. And if you anybody here have anybody who's getting married? Anybody? Now is not the season, right? Isn't it? Or maybe, so I don't know. There's June and... When I was 16 years old, I went to a place called Safeway Driving School in Tampa, Florida. And there was a guy named Jack Baldwin. And the night before we left, the night before we got our certificate or whatever, he said, wait. I'm going to show you something. And there was a whole series of movies called, maybe you remember these things, 50s accident movies, driving schools. Do you remember this one? I used to love this. This is called, here we go, Crash and Live. This is a 1950s driver's education. Shock. 1959 U.S. driver's safety education. The Iron Graveyard from 1970s. The infamous driver educational scare. Red Asphalt. School of Wreck. Do you remember this? In fact, we have a place, there were some great independent movie houses in New York. And one was, of course, Film Forum. I think it's still my favorite. And then there's the Quad and Angelica and all these. They're going to be fewer and fewer. But there was one, I think it was Film Forum I saw years ago. And it was in honor of this one fellow who used to do the best videos there were. I forget his name. And he created this mindset, this art style. And anyway, the point of it was to show people that even though you're having such a great time driving as a kid, don't think for a minute that there aren't perils that accompany this. Well, I've always said there should be something. There should be something that should be shown before people get married. And it's not meant to be a joke. But before people get married, we have to explain. Now, you don't understand what marriage is until you get a divorce. Because you don't know what happened. And I guarantee you, I went to a wedding recently, and they couldn't tell you. If you said, whoa, before you begin, what are you accomplishing now being married that you cannot accomplish civilly? What's the difference between being married in a civil union, domestic partnership? What if you just sign a contract? Why are you getting married? What does this mean? They couldn't answer. What happens when you have children? Good point. Lisa brings up a question here. What happens if you have children? How does that change? Married with children, single with children. What's the difference? What does this mean? Is this notion of legitimacy? Remember that was the old days. That was in the days of, he's illegitimate. Well, it came down to, can you take under the will? I got news for you. your paternity, your maternity has something to do with whether the parents were married. It has nothing to do with this. You were, it might have mattered in the crown or something. Let me explain to you this very, very simply. Let's say we have two individuals. We have you and me. You and I, and we go to a bank. We're having a business, and we open up a joint checking account. All right? We go to a joint checking account, and we sign, and we have this little check. Remember the check? Your name and my name underneath it. And we put $200 in. I put up 100, you put up 100, and that's it. And that's for our business operation. It could be a partnership, it could be whatever it is. But we have a joint checking account. You got that? Joint checking. Okay. Now, unbeknownst to you, the next day, I go in and I clean out the whole thing. I take your 100, my 100, and I'm out of there. And you go to the bank and you say, wait a minute. You go to the bank. Where's my money? It was withdrawn. He can't do that. Oh, yes, he can. Why? He's a joint tenant. It's a tenancy. That's what it's called. He can do with yours what you can do. Yeah, but that's not fair. It may not be fair. Might be a violation of something else, but there's nothing wrong with it. I didn't know that. It's true. Let's say you and I are business partners. We have that joint checking account. You get sued for DUI. You hit somebody, you run somebody over. There's a lawsuit, there's a judgment, and the judgment's, attached. And lo and behold, they take my bank account with you. I say, wait a minute. I didn't have anything to do with that drunk driving. He did. Sorry. Those assets, what he can do with them, you can do with them. They are not just yours. Joint tenancy. Well, here we go. Now we have this one. We take, usually, historically, a man and a woman, and then they become ba-bum. Remember Chang and Eng, famous Siamese twins. Eng was always the answer for crossword puzzles. Siamese twin, E-N-G. It was always a great one. Like another word I love is a little bit of food is an ort. Wing, Allah, for Allah. Anyway, A-L-A. So now we take Chang and Eng. They're separate. Marriage fuses them. Now it's called tenancy by the entirety, or the entireties. This is a unit now, an individual unit that doesn't have any significance other than together as a unit. And what that means is, you want to hold real property? Great. It's not tenancy. It's not a joint checking account. It's a tenancy by the entireties. It's to John Smith and his wife, or however it's usually phrased. So if one tries to attach it, you can't. Why? Because it's not severable. You can't mortgage a house. You have to act in concert. It's like nothing else. No other existence. Tenancy by the entirety doesn't exist anyplace else. The General Accounting Office suggests that there's about 1,600 specific benefits that you have when you are married. From taxes to visitations to you name it, insurance. It's wonderful. Operationally, you have corporations, limited liability corporations, LLCs, limited liabilities, tenancy by the entirety. It's like nothing else. Until you want a divorce. Then you have to undo that. And this thing that seemed to be this equal merger is anything but. And when that is divided, Chang and Eng, no matter how carefully you divide, somebody's going to lose an arm and a leg, or both. The law favors two different. You have children? Yeah. Check out the tender years doctrine. The law puts and has for the longest time, put a preference on mothers having primary custody, because joint custody is really, it's shared parental responsibility is a different kind of concept. But they have put a preference on mothers with little children. Sorry, Dad. Father's out. Sorry. Yeah, but wait a minute. Sorry. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Anybody tell you about this? Nope. I did not know that. Okay. Well, you have to pay child support. Okay. But the money doesn't go to the child, it goes to the mother. Uh-huh. Yeah, but I don't think the child's getting the money. Uh-huh. Want to go to court? Yeah. Okay. It's... And remember I'm telling you this, and listen to me carefully. Listen to me. I hope you never have to do this. And I know my brethren in the family law area will hate me for this. But if you are in the middle of a divorce, or if you're assisting somebody, and it's truly an uncontested, very simple dissolution, early marriage, no assets, no children, they kind of made a simplified, kind of an accelerated divorce. No fault, that sort of thing. But if you know somebody, beg them, please settle this. Every time you pick up the phone, yes, is attorney, clock starts. Click. Hello, boop. Do you know what he did today? No, tell me. He's got to stop what he's doing and talk to you. And you're going to be talking about something that may or may not matter. Because it is so gut-wrenching, it's so horrible. You got to tell somebody. And this is the question they always ask. Can they do that? Can they do that? Can they do that? Yes. That doesn't seem fair. Click. Now you got, next thing you know, talk on the phone. When you talk to a friend of yours, just notice when you pick up the phone, and then when you get done, look at the phone. 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Do not, if you can avoid a lawyer, if you can settle this thing somehow with a lawyer signing off on that, please do it. It's just brutal. It's just brutal. The whole thing. In fact, to show you what it's like, many judges who are brand new judges, you know where they're first sent? They're first sent to family law. It's almost like a punishment. Also, we always have these wonderful people. Sometimes they're called court officers. We call them bailiffs. Translation, bus drivers with guns. In felony. Felony. We used to have a circuit criminal. Felony, where people are going away for 30 years. I had a guy one time said, well, that's the way it goes. Take your ring off. Parents are crying. Here you go. Give me a watch. Hey, listen, what are you going to do? Thank you. I'll call you. Like it's nothing. Family law? Crying? Kids traumatized? And Timmy? They put kids on this. Oh, my God. People have no idea. They have no idea. And then go back and go back. And then one person doesn't do anything. And then one does. One is withholding something. It's just. And here's the best part. Listen to me like you've never listened to me before. Listen to me. These people used to love each other. These two people loved each other, usually romantically, emotionally, physically, spiritually. They couldn't get enough of each other. They were the light and everything. And now, sometimes, the enmity, to put it like, you can't believe it. You can't believe it. This is every single case. This is divorce. Now, family also isn't juvenile and whatever. So before this even happens, Nobody ever. I mean, I don't want to ruin people's lives, but I want people to say, excuse me, before you go to this, you go to the county or you get your license. Okay, that's fine. And I'm also telling you, the same thing happens with same sex. It applies to you too. It applies with you too. Let me tell you something. The divorce bar, when this was happening, they loved the idea. Oh, same sex marriage, great, more business. It's invariably going to happen. And why do you think that is? Why is that? Give me one reason why there's so many divorces. Give me one reason. Why? Why is there so many? Why? Tell me. Why are there so many divorces? Why? Why? This is the song that, or the idea. Remember that divorce. Tammy Wynette. And we live in a 2-story house. Oh, it's splendid. Oh my God! Every song. Do you understand this? Do you understand? You know what the reason for this is? No fault divorce. Divorce. What is no fault? What does that mean? Listen to this. In the old days, you had to claim, you had to sue for a divorce. You had to sue. What does that mean? Very simple. Instead of me suing you for, negligence or whatever it is, you've got to sue for abuse, abandonment. It's been a while. Some of the great fault divorce, physical abuse. Hang on. This really killed people. You mean I can't get a divorce? Nope. Oh, adultery, cruelty, abandonment, mental illness, criminal conviction. Then they have constructive abandonment, where you have had no emotional or physical or connection, whatever it is. That was always like the least, because you got to say adultery. Just meant no adultery. Cruelty. I don't want to put that down. Abandonment. Well, put that aside. Mental illness. So this was terrible. So you'd go to court and you'd say, listen, Your Honor, I gotta get out of here. Well, he was cruel to me. What did he do? Well, he was cruel. Well, like what? Well, I mean, it was a constant, sorry, you lose. I lose? Wait a minute. It made no sense. Sorry. Well, No Fault came along and they said the following. No Fault. Uncontested is the easiest. 6 months residency usual. How long you been here? 6 months. That's good enough. You sure? Yeah, 6 months. I got a cable bill. That's good. That's perfect. Is the marriage irretrievably broken or irreconcilable differences? Yeah, that's it. And if there's no kids, no real property, you are done. See ya. Done. No fault. You don't have to prove this. You don't have to prove cruelty. Irretrievably broken, irreconcilable differences. Thank God. But at its best, horrible. Horrible. When they finally say, well, it's final. Hey! Yeah. Here's the paper. Done. Chang and Eng are no more. Now it's Chang, or was. Now it's some poor guy who's... Oh, my. And you can see it. Hey, it's over. Congratulations. Congratulations. Finally, it's done. Well, And sometimes, people will say, well, I can go along with my life now and that sort of thing. It's fascinating. And then people will, and it gets really interesting because after somebody has been through this, and they may or may not have had some significant other in the meantime who is a part of this, the significant other, the girlfriend or boyfriend says, okay, let's get married now. And this person said, get married? I just went through. So the purpose of today's discussion was to say that when you talk about Tom Brady, and I don't know anything about the facts of the case, but it reminds me, we have been so inundated, so deluged with the notion of what divorce is, because people think, and this is my point I was going to make, at the back of everybody's mind and everybody's wedding today, no matter who it is, they say, even though they won't admit it, they say to themselves, I know I'm saying forever and, life do us part, blah, 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 blah. But I know that in case something goes wrong, I don't have to, no. So, I don't want it to happen, but, And many people have been married before. And how many times has Elizabeth Taylor been married? 6 or 7 times or 8? Elizabeth Taylor, Wilding, Fisher, Burton.
I think 6 times, but one of them was like twice, so maybe.
Yeah. Remember that one guy she met, Larry, something or other? He was in a rehab. And the reason why is because Elizabeth Taylor said, I believe that when you marry somebody, or when you fall in love, you get married. She was old-fashioned. So it's something that I hereby advocate. And let me just say something to you. Who agrees with me? Kids in school today, if it's even possible, if we even have that, must learn basic financial understanding, banking, credit cards, credit scores, fundamental, basic financial. We need to teach something that used to be called home ec, something that somebody knows how to cook something. You're going to have to do this. And maybe you would hope, I think today, because there's so many great chefs and instructionals and tutorials on YouTube, that might help. But somebody somewhere has to understand this thing called family, marriage, children, and what this does. Look at the rates of divorce. Look at the divorce in countries. And by the way, there's civil, and then there's the religious connection of it. So, not to belabor that point, whenever I heard about Tom Brady and divorce, it occurred to me nobody explained what happens legally. Nobody explains, what does this mean? What does this mean? And why, by the way, why must someone be entitled to such? Before we begin, let me just, before this one thought, and this is the most, not the most important, but certainly very, very important. I want to talk about mypillow.com and how you must use the promo code Lionel. Because right now as we speak, in addition to the free gift by using promo code Lionel, mypillow.com/Lionel, right now it is a crisp, it was nice and cool this morning. Ooh, the windows are open. You can hear the gunshots and the sirens even clearer. The Giza Dreams sheet sets, the Percale sheet sets, My Slippers towel sale of the year. 3-piece towel set, $24.98. My Pillow sandals. My Pillows as low as $19.88. Mattresses, My Pillow towel sets, plush blankets, beach towels, Go Anywhere My Pillows, sleep systems, toppers, down blankets, sleeper loungewear, My Pillow body pillow with, goes on and on, quilts, duvets, gossamer, blankets, the waffle blanket, all of this available by going to mypillow.com and using promo code Lionel. That is our sponsor. They sponsor us. And make sure you only use promo code Lionel. And if you insist upon having a telephone, I understand, you are entitled to that. 800-645-4965. 800-645-4965. mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. Let me say this one thing, which is the most interesting about marriage, which is really, if you think about this is so important and so critical and so necessary. By the way, we appreciate you liking this, subscribing. We would appreciate more likes as it helps our algorithm, but what are you going to do? I want you to imagine you are a woman. Historically, this might be a bit classical, but it's happened. You are putting your husband or helping him go through law school, medical school, whatever it is. You have forewent your own, let's say, education or job market or whatever it was, your job, in order to be either the mother or the wife or whatever. Or, let's say during the nascent period of your husband's medical career or legal career or business career, you work day and night to build that company along with him as a business partner and a wife and a mother, let's say. You are now in your 50s. You do not have a degree per se, but your life has been, and your degree was in the family. Mother, homemaker, business partner. And then you find out that your husband goes through a period of middle-aged crazies and decides that he wants to run away with the nurse or whatever it is. And you are no longer a part of this. What about you? Now you learn about alimony, which is called maintenance in some cases, rehabilitative maintenance and the like, special equity, a piece of the business, his degree that you invested in. Oh yes, we put and the husband will say, "Wait a minute, what? You're entitled to what? I did that." Oh no. Not according to the law. Did you learn that in your class? Or you didn't have a class? Oh, I see. Maybe you should have. What about this one? Husband dies, and the will never mentions the wife. Can a husband leave his wife out of a will? Then you get elective share, you get pretermitted spouse, you get protections you've never even thought of. Because the reality today is simply this. If you have put yourself, if a woman has devoted herself, and this is exactly the way a court will usually, not always, but theoretically, has devoted herself to a marital race, R-E-S, the marital thing, the property, and has now, by virtue of this dissolution, we're not going to just cut her loose and say, now, try going out and get a job now. You're 55 years old. Go ahead and compete. Go ahead. Good luck. And you don't have a degree? Oh, sorry about that. So this will all be factored in. You have a child who has special needs. When marital units are together and contiguous, you don't realize how much money is put for all of these things. You then take everything and you break it apart, and then you start to itemize it, and you realize this is expensive when you're paying for it individually after you, the husband usually, has absented himself and is now over here alone and has to live his life plus help maintain, if not, the family. It's, to say it's prohibitive? Oh. Now, I don't want to be recriminating. I don't want to say it's anybody's fault. But sometimes during the course of people's lives, they get sort of cavalier about responsibility. Sometimes some people don't like to age. Maybe they think they don't feel, I don't know, special anymore. Who knows? There's a variety. I'm not pointing fingers per se. But before you make decisions and do things on a whim based upon some emotional feeling, understand the financial, the emotional, the reality that is attendant there too. And I promise you, every single time I have ever sat through a wedding, I know Everybody's happy. And now it's my turn as the best man. Okay. I'm his brother. Okay. You got to sit through that. You know, I've known Timmy. Said, okay. And there's the father of the bride and the mother of the bride. And there's the band. Ooh, they're happy. Ooh, throwing this stuff. And I'll bet you, if anybody, if you walked up and said, you don't know what you just did you? You just, and most, we hope and we pray. Marriage is a wonderful thing. I think people live long. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But when it goes wrong, it's like anything else. Driving is a wonderful thing until you go off of a cliff in your car that you used to polish. And now, and I'm not in any way being one of these individuals who makes fun of this, but I just wanted to just spend a little time with you. Because remember something, and I'm going to just leave it at this. You have the affirmative duty to understand American legal system. You do. You have that system. And today is very, very important. And if you have somebody who is getting married or somebody who is contemplating it, make sure, as a parent or a friend or whatever, you during the course, if it's all possible, to make sure they understand specifically what it is that this involves and what the ramifications of if this were not to be successful. This means a lot to me. And I wish that we could do more to explain to the public. I wish we did a thing years ago called People's Law School, and it was wonderful that we used to meet with the public and just give them, explain what's going on here. Because if you knew ahead of time, not in terms of lecturing, but saying this is what happens. This is what happens. This is what we see. We would be so better off, because you really don't hear about this until after the fact. And after sometimes things are too late. All right, my friends, please follow Mrs. L.
What about the likes?
The likes, honey, I don't know what to tell you. Mrs. L is saying, what about the likes? Honey, there are some times when people just feel like it's difficult for them to like. And I find it sometimes, I'll say it, demeaning to sit here and beg for likes. They know the rules, but if you like this, please like it. It helps us tremendously in our pursuit, in our message. Because if somebody ever tells me, I saw you do that thing on marriage and it changed my life, or better yet, I never thought about that. That's the happiest thing. That's my like. When somebody says, I never thought about that. I never thought about that. It's like when I play a music, like on my private channel, Lionel Media, I'll play something for you. I know you've never heard this before. I'll introduce you. Because I'm doing everything always to push Nick Drake. Nick Drake is, I'm from the church of Nick Drake. But anyway, people have said, I never heard of him. Well, if I can make you say, if I can make you think, I never thought about that. I never. I don't know why nobody told me that.
You have to have more likes.
I know, honey. Mrs. L would like you to provide more likes. In the meantime, please follow Mrs. L on YouTube at Lynn's Warriors. Don't forget preparewithlionel.com, and mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, or mypillow.com/Lionel. Thank you so much. Tomorrow night is Halloween. Please be safe. We'll talk about that in the morning. Tomorrow we'll give you my Halloween memories. Would you like to hear that? And how I see Halloween changing very interestingly. And I'm not talking about merely going to Party City, which, by the way, how great is Party City? Party City, Dollar Tree, incredible. All right, my friends, have a great and a glorious day. Please be careful. Talk to you tomorrow. Thank you so much for this. See you mañana. Same bad time, same bad channel, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Dead.